Every year, food poisoning sends about 128,000 Americans to the hospital. And if you are over 60, the biggest danger is often not raw sushi, not restaurant buffet food, and not some obviously spoiled meal. It can be yesterday's leftovers. It can be that harmless-looking bowl in your own refrigerator. It can be the food you are reheating right now, thinking the microwave will fix everything. And that is the part so many people never hear clearly enough. With some foods, the danger is not just the food itself. It is what happened before you reheated it. The bacteria may be gone after heating, but the damage may already be done. The CDC and USDA both warn that adults 65 and older are more likely to get very sick from foodborne illness because, with age, your immune system and organs do not clear harmful germs as well as they once did. In plain language, your body's security team is still working, but it may not move as fast. That means a mistake that gives a younger person a rough day can send an older adult to urgent care, or worse. So when I say never reheat these 4 foods, I do not mean they are magically poisonous the second they get cold. I mean never use reheating as a rescue plan after these foods have been mishandled. Heat is helpful, yes, but heat is not a time machine. And before we go further, if this channel helps you protect your health and your independence, subscribe now. It really does help these videos reach more older adults who need calm, practical information without the fear tactics. And let me know your age and where you are watching from in the comments. I always love seeing how many of you are here together, looking out for your health and for each other. Number 1 is cooked rice. This one surprises almost everyone. Rice looks dry. It looks plain. It looks safe. But cooked rice is one of the most commonly misunderstood leftovers in the kitchen. The problem is a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. That is a germ found in the environment that can leave behind spores, and spores are like tiny survival capsules. Think of them as seeds with armor. You can boil the rice, steam the rice, fluff the rice, and those spores can still survive the cooking process. Now here is where things go wrong. When cooked rice sits out on the counter, those armored little seeds can wake up. They grow. They multiply. And some strains can produce toxins, meaning poisonous substances, that can make you sick. The cruel part is this. Once certain toxins are there, reheating may not save you. You may kill some bacteria with heat, but you may not destroy the toxin that was already made. So the second heating feels safe, but it may be a false sense of safety. Picture your kitchen like this. Freshly cooked rice is like a clean parking lot after a rainstorm. But leave it warm for too long, and those spores are like weeds growing through the cracks. Once the weeds have spread, mowing the lawn does not rebuild the driveway. Reheating is the mowing. It can help with some problems, but not all of them. The biggest mistake people make is leaving rice in the pot for hours, leaving it in the rice cooker, on warm too long, or setting takeout rice aside to deal with later. Some people think, it's dry. It's not meat. It'll be fine. That is exactly the trap. Rice does not have to smell bad to be risky. It does not have to look slimy. It can look perfectly normal and still cause trouble. And when you are older, trouble hits harder. Vomiting and diarrhea are not just inconvenient. They can lead to dehydration, meaning your body loses too much fluid. That can affect your blood pressure, your kidneys, your balance, and even how clearly you think. One rough night in the bathroom can turn into weakness for days. So what is the fix? Cool rice quickly. Do not let it wander around your kitchen all afternoon. Put it into shallow containers so the heat can escape fast. Then refrigerate it promptly. When you reheat it, reheat only the amount you plan to eat, and get it steaming hot all the way through. Do not warm the whole batch over and over. And if that rice sat out too long, do not try to be brave. Do not try to be frugal. Throw it away. I know some of you will push back on this one, because many people grew up eating rice left out overnight and felt fine. So here is a good debate for the comments. Do you think leftover rice gets ignored because it looks so harmless? Or do you think the warnings are overblown? I have a feeling this one will split the room. Let me give you a simple real-life scene. You make chicken and rice for dinner. You are tired, you leave the rice on the stove while you watch television. Then you remember it before bed and put it away. The next day, you scoop some into a bowl, microwave it, and think, there, fixed. But the risk was not the microwave. The risk was those warm hours in the middle. That is the hidden lesson. Reheating is not always repair. Number 2 is foil-wrapped baked potatoes. Not all potatoes. Not every leftover mashed potato. I want to be very precise here. The higher risk problem is the baked potato that stayed wrapped in foil and sat around too long. Why does that matter? Because foil changes the environment around the potato. It traps heat. It also reduces airflow. And that creates the kind of low oxygen setting that certain dangerous bacteria like. The name you may hear here is Clostridium botulinum. That is the bacterium linked to botulism, a rare but very serious illness caused by a nerve toxin. A toxin is a poison, and botulism toxin affects the nerves that control muscles. That is why botulism can cause blurred vision, drooping eyelids, trouble speaking, trouble swallowing, and weakness. This is not the kind of food poisoning most people think of. It is not always just a stomach problem. It is a nerve problem, and that is exactly why it deserves respect. Now, let me calm this down with honesty. Botulism from baked potatoes is not something happening in every kitchen every day. It is rare. But rare and serious is still serious, especially when the prevention is so simple. If a potato has been baked in foil and then left at room temperature while still wrapped, that foil can act like a sleeping bag for bacteria. Warm, snug, low in oxygen. Exactly the sort of place you do not want trouble to grow. Most people think the potato itself is too plain to be dangerous. They think, it's just a potato. But potatoes are not the point here. Storage is the point. A baked potato in foil is a little different from a plain baked potato sitting open on a plate. That foil changes the rules. The fix is simple. If you are serving foil-wrapped baked potatoes, keep them hot until serving. If you are saving them, loosen or remove the foil and refrigerate them promptly. Let them breathe before cold storage. And if a foil-wrapped potato sat out for too long, especially if you are not sure how long, do not rely on reheating to make it safe. That is one of those moments where, I hate wasting food has to lose the argument to, I want to stay out of the hospital. Think of it like a sealed garage. If a car is idling in an open driveway, that is one situation. If the same car is idling in a closed garage, the environment changes everything. The potato is the car. The foil is the garage. Same potato, different danger. A viewer once told me her family always wrapped potatoes tightly and left them on the counter for people to grab later. No one had ever explained why that was risky. That is how these problems stay alive for generations. Not because people are careless, because the rule was never taught clearly. If you learned it today, you have already made your kitchen safer. And let me ask you this. When you were growing up, were leftovers usually left on the stove, or were they packed away right after dinner? Tell me in the comments, because kitchen habits are often family traditions. Some traditions keep us safe. Some deserve an update. Number 3 is fish, especially fish like tuna, mackerel, mahi-mahi, bluefish, and similar types that can cause what is called scombroid poisoning. That sounds technical, so let's make it simple. This is a kind of food poisoning caused by high histamine in the fish. Histamine is the same body chemical involved in allergy-type reactions. If certain fish are not kept cold enough after they are caught, or after they are cooked, bacteria can turn natural substances in the fish into histamine. And once that histamine is there, cooking or reheating does not reliably remove it. That is the part people miss. They think spoiled fish is a bacteria problem only, but with this kind of fish problem, the issue can be the chemical left behind. You can heat the fish until it is hot. You can pan-fry it again. You can put it in the oven, and yet the histamine may still be there, ready to cause flushing, headache, pounding heart, rash, nausea, or stomach upset. Sometimes people even think they are having an allergic reaction. So the danger is not simply, fish is bad when reheated. The honest version is this. Fish that has been temperature abused, meaning it spent too much time too warm, is not rescued by reheating. That is the lesson. The reheating is not the cure. Here is the analogy I want you to remember. Imagine milk spilled on your kitchen floor. Wiping the floor helps. But if the milk already soaked into the rug and turned sour, spraying perfume over it does not fix the rot underneath. Reheating spoiled fish is like spraying perfume. It changes the surface. It does not always remove the deeper problem. The mistake people make is trusting smell too much, or assuming, I cooked it once already, so it's fine. Some fish with dangerous histamine may smell peppery, sharp, or off, but not always in a dramatic way. And once a fish dish has been left out too long at a picnic, in the car, on the counter, or at the back of a crowded refrigerator where it never got truly cold, you should not give it a second chance. The fix? Buy fish from a reliable source. Keep it cold. Refrigerate leftovers quickly. Eat them promptly. Reheat only once, and only if you know the fish was handled properly the whole time. If you are unsure, skip it. Fish is one of the worst foods to gamble on, because when it goes wrong, it can go wrong fast. This reminds me of a fictional patient I will call Marion, age 74. Marion lived alone after her husband died, and she prided herself on never wasting food. She would buy cooked fish from the market, eat half for dinner, and leave the rest in the pan while she cleaned up slowly and watched the evening news. The next day she would warm it again and think nothing of it. More than once, she ended up flushed, shaky, nauseated, and frightened. She worried it was her heart. She worried it was anxiety. She even worried something was seriously wrong with her nerves. But when we looked at the pattern, the episodes followed leftover fish. Her outcome was not some miracle cure. It was something better and more realistic. Once she began chilling fish quickly, portioning it right away, and tossing any fish she was uncertain about, those episodes stopped. Not magic, just a safer routine. That is such an important point for you. Sometimes what feels like a mysterious health problem is actually a kitchen habit. Not always, but sometimes. And when the fix is simple, that is empowering. Now I want to stir the pot a little. Here is a debate for the comments. Is leftover fish ever worth the risk for you, or do you only eat fish fresh the first time and never again? I know some of you are strict about this, and some of you grew up reheating fish without a second thought. Let's hear both sides. Number 4 is large pots of soup, stew, chili, gravy, and similar leftovers that get cooled slowly and reheated again and again. I know that sounds like more than one food, but they all share the same danger pattern. And for seniors, this is one of the most common real-world problems, because big batch cooking is practical. It saves money. It saves energy. It makes life easier. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem is not the soup. The problem is the cycle. A giant pot cools slowly, very slowly. The center can stay warm for a long time, and bacteria love that middle temperature zone. Food safety experts call the range from 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit the danger zone, because bacteria can grow quickly there. So if you cook a huge pot, let it sit, then place the whole heavy pot in the refrigerator, the outside may cool while the middle stays warm. That warm middle becomes a little greenhouse for germs. Then comes the second mistake. Instead of taking out one portion, people reheat the whole pot. Then they cool the whole pot again. Then they reheat the whole pot again the next day. Heat, cool, heat, cool. Every cycle is another chance for trouble if the timing is sloppy. It is like opening and closing your front door during a storm. The more often you do it, the more rain gets into the house. And soup fools people because it feels wet and comforting. It feels safe. If it boils, it must be clean, right? Not always. If harmful bacteria multiplied because cooling was too slow, you may kill many of them when reheating properly. Yes. But if the food sat out too long, or has gone through too many careless temperature swings, you are playing with odds that are not worth playing with. And in older adults, one foodborne illness can mean more than a stomachache. It can mean dehydration, dizziness, missed medications, weakness, and a dangerous fall on the way to the bathroom. The common mistake here is cooking like you are feeding a family of 8, then storing like you are in a hurry. Big pot, tight lid, slow cooling, whole pot reheated, back in the fridge, repeat. Many people have done this for years, and because they got away with it, they assume it is safe. But I was lucky before is not the same as this is safe now. The fix is wonderfully practical. Portion it out while it is still fresh. Use shallow containers so the food cools faster. Refrigerate promptly. When you want leftovers, reheat only the bowl you are about to eat. If it is soup, stew, or gravy, get it steaming hot all the way through. If you do not know how long it sat out, do not guess. If it has been in the refrigerator too long, do not play detective with your nose. Throw it out. Think of a large pot of soup, like a hot brick wrapped in a blanket. The outside may feel cool enough. The middle can still be holding heat, long after you think the job is done. Shallow containers are like breaking that brick into thin slices. Suddenly the heat can escape. Suddenly the refrigerator can do its job. This is where Marion's story fits again, because it is so common. After her fish problem was solved, she mentioned another habit. Every Sunday, she made a giant pot of vegetable soup. She reheated the entire pot for lunch Monday, Tuesday, and sometimes Wednesday. She thought that was what smart people did. Save time, save money, avoid waste. But once she started portioning the soup into smaller containers and warming only one serving at a time, she noticed something else. She felt better after meals, less bloating, less uneasy stomach, less of that vague, something isn't right feeling. Again, not a miracle, just fewer opportunities for food to sit in that risky middle ground. And I want to ask you something important here. Do you think doctors and hospitals warn older adults enough about leftover safety, or do they focus too much on restaurant food and not enough on the home kitchen? Tell me in the comments. I have a strong feeling many of you will say the warnings at home are nowhere near strong enough. So let's bring this all together, because memory matters, especially when you are trying to change habits. Rice is number one. The danger is spores that can survive cooking, and toxins that reheating may not remove if the rice sat out too long. The fix is fast cooling, prompt refrigeration, and reheating only what you need. Foil-wrapped baked potatoes are number two. The danger is the warm, low-oxygen environment inside that foil if the potato is left out too long, which can support botulism risk. The fix is simple. Keep them hot for serving, or loosen the foil and refrigerate them promptly. Never trust reheating as a rescue plan. Fish is number three, especially certain kinds that can build up histamine if not kept cold enough. The danger is that reheating does not reliably destroy that histamine. The fix is cold storage from the start, quick refrigeration of leftovers, and zero gambling when you are unsure. Large pots of soup, stew, chili, and gravy are number four. The danger is slow cooling and repeated reheating of the whole batch. The fix is shallow containers, quick chilling, single portions, and one reheating at a time. Do you see the pattern? This entire video is really about one truth. The microwave is not magic. The oven is not a reset button. Heat can help. Heat can make food enjoyable again. Heat can kill many germs when used properly. But heat cannot erase every mistake that happened before the reheating. Once you understand that, your entire kitchen gets safer. And that matters so much after 60. Because your goal is not just to avoid a bad meal. Your goal is to protect your energy, your balance, your hydration, your medications, your sleep, your confidence, and your independence. A younger person may bounce back from a rough night. You should not have to. One more gentle reminder before we finish. Talk to your doctor before major changes, especially if you take medication or have a diagnosed condition. Natural does not always mean risk-free, and home habits are not always harmless just because they are familiar. This video is for educational purposes only. If you want to help this channel reach more people who need practical health advice without the nonsense, subscribe now. Share this video with a spouse, a sibling, or a friend who still believes reheat